This is basically my iOS 14 wish list, okay? I saw some people asking for that. I think the term wish list is a little too generic because I have way too specific of a request. As soon as they added the option for you to change your frame rate and resolution from within the camera app, originally I was like, what else can they change? That's all I've ever wanted. But I've got one for you, and this is what I hope they do. Let's begin. Alright, so let's get one thing out of the way, because I know there's a ton of you that are probably just gonna say this. Stability, okay? We gotta crack down on the bugs and the glitches and the errors in the code. I get that, okay? I'm not saying ignore that. I'm not saying I want there to be bugs in code. So you just save the comments on that. iOS 13 definitely was super buggy for a lot of people. I acknowledge that. And there's even reports that behind the scenes, Apple's trying to rethink their bug bounty program, and they want to make sure there's less glitches than there have been in the past. So just putting all that aside, okay? Let's just say that goes without saying with every version of iOS. Let's just hope for stability and support, you know. My hope is that every device that gets iOS 13 can also get iOS 14. Putting all that aside, the main thing Apple needs to get right with iOS 14 is the pop-ups, okay? Might be a little bit confused by my terminology of pop-ups, but to those of you who don't know, I'm not referring to notifications, okay? I think they pretty much got those right. Some of you may disagree, but grouped notifications has worked really well for the past few iOS versions. I like that, you know, you just get your text, it drops down, you can respond to it, or you can not, and it just goes back. That's fine. I'm happy with notifications. Pop-ups are what is integrated within a lot of iOS, and I've seen a ton of people ask this to change, so this is the terminology I'm using for it. It's what happens when you get a phone call, you know? Whatever you're doing on your phone is immediately interrupted by the entire screen turning into the answer or deny phone call option. So you get that number that's calling you and you can answer it or not. You guys know where I'm going with this. Of course, that needs to be replaced with a simple drop-down menu. I'm totally aware this is not an original idea. iOS would not be the first operating system to get the idea of, hey, you know what? When you're getting a phone call, it should not cover up the entire screen. But I'm not done there because a lot of people just start with the phone call animation. That's a big one. I totally agree with you. It would be much more handy if it was just a drop-down, say yes, say no to the phone call. That's it. You don't have to interrupt everything we're doing on the phone. You don't have to take over the whole screen. Another great one, though, would be Siri. This is an issue, in fact, I've even had with Google Assistant devices in the past. The digital assistant should not cover up the entire screen. I get that the device is listening now, and it wants to show you the dictation that, like, hey, I can hear you. This is how I'm interpreting what you're saying. I think that also needs to be redesigned the same way a lot of us want the phone call screen to be redesigned. Just let Siri be like a little pop-down menu. Like, yeah, you can tap it, swipe down, and let Siri take up the entire display if you'd like. I'm all for the option, you know, if you want it to take up the whole screen every single time, that's great, that's fine. But I think it'd be really cool if while you were texting someone or while you were watching a video, or maybe you're just browsing Twitter, you want to activate Siri while you're reading that article or browsing through Twitter, tell her to text someone else while you're already in that app. Maybe that takes too much RAM for iOS, I don't know, but if Siri did not take up the entire display every time you used her, especially on the iPad. I know that the iPad is technically running iPadOS, but it's ultimately still based around iOS. It's got the core roots in there. It would be so much more handy if Siri on the iPad behaved way more like it does on the Mac, where it just kind of slides out from the side. You can read your little transcript there, interact with Siri, and then you're done. It doesn't have to take up the entire display. So phone call redesign, the Siri redesign, those are two big ones. Third one, though, with pop-ups is, I think, one that annoys a ton of people out there that needs to be made more like it is on macOS, which is those little system update ones, like your storage is full or the iPhone is about to restart or undo typing or something like that. I think it would make much more sense if it was a little drop-down menu from the top of the phone so that, yeah, even if you're in the middle of doing something, you can get that, you know, iPhone storage full option, but it doesn't have to cover up the entire display, because I've seen so many situations people have been in where they're trying to do something on their phone, but it's constantly telling them their storage is full. I get that you want them to act on that, but I don't think that warrants, like, stopping the entire interface with the device. I don't know, maybe some of you disagree, but I don't know, if it's not letting you take the picture, just like don't take the picture and let that little drop-down menu do the work, you know? People will naturally draw their eyes to that menu and that option if it says storage full, you know, you can't take more pictures or whatever, and then they can act on it. But as long as you don't cancel out all interaction with the rest of the phone, that would be very helpful, as well as the numerous times I've seen so many people be using their phone, but they keep getting this pop-up of like, enter your Gmail password, enter your iCloud password, because, you know, you're your iOS mailbox does not have the correct password. So this pop-up keeps showing up on screen saying, hey, enter your password, enter your password. It's fine if you want to notify us, but just turn it into more of a notification and less of a pop-up. Because every time you get those alerts that just kind of shut down any interaction with the device, it's very intrusive, it's very interruptive, and you don't have to do exactly what I'm describing in this video, but I just think the process needs to be at least redesigned a little bit, to the point where we don't have so many pop-ups telling us that we have to stop using our phone until we address this exact pop-up. Way too intrusive. Partner that with the Siri redesign, the phone call redesign, and I think you would probably have a really solid update, because iOS 13 was pretty great all around. A lot of people had some buggy experiences with it. I was very happy with it, of course, between the volume indicator to dark mode. The AirPod sharing option is awesome. There's a ton of stuff I love that they did with iOS 13, and I think that iOS 14 reasonably should be more of a performance update. Doesn't have to be necessarily built around all the new features. Don't start going into your just jailbreak list of, I want to put apps on the bottom of the home. Stop. They haven't done it yet. They're not going to do it this year. So that's the main thing I think iOS 14 should focus on. Some of you may disagree with me. You are incorrect though, because as we all know on Tailosive Tech, my opinions are factual and you can't disagree with them. But if you'd like to feel like an idiot, feel free to hit me up over on Twitter, join our Discord, and we can continue a healthy discussion over there. This is your Apple Jeep here. I will see you in the next one.